Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Well-Behaved Women. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to another episode of Well-Behaved Women.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Woohoo.
We are joined, as always, my name is B. Lauren, our hostess with the mostest, our resident historian and storyteller.
Hiya.
And zombie Hannah Moses. Yet
Hello.
to be revived. And we're here to tell you some campfire stories around the bong.
I get
as
to
always.
hang out for a few hours a week. This is nice to be here. Thank you.
Break up the minutia of life.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Eating brains.
Afterlife.
The minutia of afterlife. Of unlife? Are you undead, right?
Yeah,
Zombie?
undead.
So unlife.
The minutia of like the constant search for an ethical sourcing of brains
Whoa.
is an
Who said anything about
unending
ethical?
Yeah, I'm in. I don't care if it's
Yeah, I was
ethical.
like, I need to be here. I
find
got
cow
a job,
Cow brains would be ethical.
That's fair. Yeah.
I
I don't think it
guess,
has the same kick though.
But it needs to be fresh.
Wow.
That's the other problem.
I could tell you where I get my cow brains, but then I'd have to kill you.
I'm already dead.
Then I'd have to unkill you.
You can't do that.
She's already undead,
Then I'd have
unkilled.
to unre-kill you.
I don't know what kind of witchcraft it's going to take a while, so.
Black magic.
And you know black magic?
Well, I don't know black magic. I know black magic. It's different.
Okay. All right. All right. Lauren, hi.
Hello. Yeah. This is our show.
A well-behaved woman is trim and proper. Chores always done, not a hair out of place. When the husband comes home, she greets him with a smile.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
Are you tired of Hitler?
Have you no shame?
Okay, one liar as a kid can find another liar.
I want that stricken from the record.
How else is she gonna learn if she doesn't have a feather?
I can go fuck in the big house.
You're a mess troll. I am here to audition for Babysitters Club extras. I brought my own hammer.
Speaking of a changing world,
Oh, here we go.
Perfect segue.
do we want to get into our story today?
Yes,
Please.
a whole new world.
Are
That's
we
all I
up
can sing.
That's where we'll be.
For you and me.
Is that the lyrics?
At the very end. It's not,
Oh,
maybe
okay,
not
cool.
right there.
Hey, that's so great. We did it, guys. All right. All right, before we get sidetracked, let's get ready.
All right, can we get a...
On the film history.
Excellent.
Prohibition is instituted in the United States, changing forever the attitude about alcohol consumption and the idea of cool.
Nate.
Of cool.
A woman named Anna Anderson tries to commit suicide in Berlin and is taken to a mental hospital where she claims she is Grand Duchess Anastasia of Russia.
Oh, I knew
fuck yeah.
that name.
Let's go.
Greece begins using the Gregorian calendar. For those of you who have listened to a few episodes, we've mentioned this tidbit before, so you might already
For
know.
all you Catholics out there.
Yeah, the Cathals. And the United States Post Office Department rules that children may not be sent via parcel post.
Yeah, that was a thing.
We had to make that a rule.
All right, the first year that came to mind was 1913.
Quit mailing your babies, you monsters.
All right, 1913?
That was my first guess.
Okay.
I was going to say 1925.
Okay. Oh, I have a thing. Hold on.
She
That's
finally
great.
got it.
I love that.
You've been
I
talking
could hear
about
that from
that.
over here.
Be lost.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's 1920.
Oh, that was going to be my
Oh, we
first
were in
guess.
the middle.
I shouldn't have fucking self.
Oh.
That's what happens. First thought, best thought. Always.
All right, so that means I win because
Cool.
Price is Right rules.
I had a
Exactly.
feeling 1920s. That's good. That makes me feel good, though, even though I lost. Congratulations. You did it. I concede.
I won by inferiority.
No, you won by the fact that
Yeah,
he was
Price
so
is Right
pleased.
rules. Yeah, you
I
won by,
guess
that's
it's
the
true.
rules.
Yeah.
Rules is rules.
Them's
Rules is rules. Rules
Yeah.
is rules.
Rules is how you win games. Otherwise, there's nothing to win.
There's nothing to win. Ellis Franklin was, by every measure of society, a man of great connection. His brother and sister were both highly active in the women's suffrage movement in England.
Okay, good.
His brother-in-law was the Attorney General of the British Mandate of Palestine.
Fuck's sake.
Whoa.
His uncle was Home Secretary.
Oh,
He worked
I
at
thought you were
a
going to say homeschooled. I was like, real connected.
I'm immediately thinking, is this anything to do with Ellis Island?
he worked at a bank that his father worked before him worked at. He was connected to
That's
the biggest
just nepotism.
Yeah.
huh?
He was connected to the biggest banking names in the nation at that time.
Nepo
Boo.
baby.
Yep.
Nepo baby.
He and his wife Muriel Francis were politically liberal, and they were part of a very small makeup of Anglo-Jewish people in England.
Whoa.
Interesting.
The couple had 5 children:
Okay.
David, Rosalind, Colin, Roland, and Jennifer.
It's a smattering of names there. None of them really go together.
Roland. My name is Roland. Nice to meet you. I'm Roland.
Roly.
Roly poly.
Roly
If
poly.
you're nasty.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Came to
Have you
mind.
no shame?
Someone's in a mood.
I have no shame.
Anyway, so all 5 of these kids, I wanted to say maybe they were Jewish names, but like I don't know about the name Roland.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't-
think I've ever heard that in
Anglo, though.
Roland.
Yeah.
that helps.
Right, exactly. They're just English.
They're-
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Colin. Yeah.
Yeah, Colin.
There it is. Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know enough.
Ellis worked at the Working Men's College teaching magnetism, electricity, and the history of the Great War.
Whoa. Wait, what? The first 2 kind of go together. The third one is just kind of in
Didn't the
there.
Great War just end?
It had
Yes,
just ended like 2
just
years ago.
happened.
So we're immediately going, here's the
Hey,
history.
remember that terrible thing we just finished? I'm going to talk to you about it for the next 6 months straight.
We're going to learn about it.
I lived through it, and I was there for the beginning part of it, and I was old enough to understand what went into this, and so now we're going to talk about the causes and the
Fuck's sake.
outcomes.
Some people.
I
I
mean,
feel like she's still just getting, like, at that time, they're still getting reports in. Like,
It's not even history at that point. It's still fucking current
yeah,
events.
it's current events.
it's like this treaty was just signed.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 9/11 just became past
Yeah,
that history.
the
So he was a
the
current
Great
events-
War.
he was a current
nobody
events
tell
professor.
him the next one's coming.
Yeah, the next one's going to be worse.
You thought that was bad.
It's great.
Fuckwit.
God, it'd be like Uncle Sam as Tony the Tiger.
I'm into it.
Rosalind Elsie Franklin was born in 1920. The second of 5 children in a wealthy and important family, Rosalind's early days as a child were spent in private day school, where she attended with her brother. This school was in the West End of London.
Oh. Is that good or bad? I don't know anything about London.
Do you remember the West End of London the last time we were visiting there?
Jack the Ripper.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm just kidding.
The 40 Elephants gang?
There it is.
Oh, rough.
It is rough. There's-
This is your,
Don't go to the boutiques.
This is actually right around the height of that too. Like
Oh, shit.
right in the 1920s. Yeah.
Don't go to the boutiques.
Well, don't go out after curfew.
Don't run into Babyface.
Or with 40 elephants.
Yeah, or any of them, really.
Rosalind was alarmingly clever and really good with her sums. She was a studious kiddo.
Good.
Yes.
Love it.
She was
Get
also athletic, and she got involved in cricket and hockey.
it. Ooh, get it. That's impressive. I like it. What?
Get it, girl?
I thought, again, I just the same way. My brain, before you said gay, was just like, ooh, gay.
No.
For no reason.
Just, you know, you like sports, you do sports.
We were talking the other night about how gay football actually is.
It is
Man,
pretty
is
gay.
that-
You are right
it
up
was
in each
so
other's
funny.
assholes. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
you're getting naked together all the time.
Yeah.
It's so gay.
You're like literally attacking
towel
their
whipping
crotch.
still a
You're
thing?
staring at dicks
Not really.
all fucking day. I mean,
It's also like when you look at like the quarterback relationship, like being like right underneath the center, having a ball delivered between leg. Like that's the best delivery method still? Really? We didn't think of anything better?
Yeah.
It's just
I have had
So
this conversation
homoerotic.
so many times, and I
and I say
every
this as
single
somebody
time,
who played
yeah.
football
Yeah.
and who still enjoys watching.
No,
it.
I
It's just
love
gay.
football, but it is a gay
It's
sport. yeah.
suggestive
It's
at
pretty
least.
It's very homoerotic.
gay, which is why a bunch of very, very straight men love to watch it.
Yeah, and then the ones that announce that they're gay magically retire a year later.
Right. So even though she did all of these sports, she also was frail in her health.
No.
Yes.
Cricket's not really a contact sport, so like I get it.
Yeah. So when she was 9, she was sent to the Lindoris School for Young Ladies in Sussex.
For young ladies.
For young ladies in Sussex.
And what do they learn at this place?
Bit of a whiffle, ain't it?
I don't know. What? Wait, where he says Sussex?
Sussex. Yeah.
Sussex.
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 What do they sound? What's the accent in Sussex? I know Essex.
Fucking hillbilly English. I don't know.
I don't know.
Cockney.
Nah, I don't know.
It's whatever you want to
Sussex.
make it.
I don't know.
I want them to sound like Michael
Caine.
Caine.
Like Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Michael Caine.
Yes, I want them to sound like Michael Caine.
Do you sound like Michael Caine?
I do not.
Better watch out for 40 elephants going
I will. Thank you, sir.
after dark. They don't play nice.
Love Michael Caine.
I know. And he just
Such-
announced he retired
Yeah.
officially.
From acting. Nice.
Yeah. At 90. Isn't he 90? He's like almost
Fucking
90.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sussex is right by the seaside.
While you do that, can I look up the accent?
Yeah.
Just for funsies?
So but the seaside basically just helped her delicate health. Her
Oh, the
frail-
humidity.
The salty
Yes,
air.
the salty air was quite refreshing to
I
her.
bet. Probably
Yes.
better
Fucking
food.
dark and foggy. She didn't get any sunburn, that's for sure.
Probably a lot
More
of seafood.
fresh air.
Yeah, a lot of fresh air.
'Cause
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
post-industrial.
I was gonna say, yeah, like it's height of coal season.
Yeah.
where
coal
we're-
season. Everybody
the
gets coal season.
the coal years of
What are the
of
coal,
England.
What's the coal season festival
this was like
activities?
Coal is
beginning
in,
to
baby.
be
Coal
coal was
pressing?
in.
Coal pressing. You try to make your own diamond.
It's a Friday night family activity. Everybody grab a hammer.
Everybody can. I brought my own hammer.
So when Rosalind turned 11, she went back to West London for more boarding school because this specific school that she was going to now, it had a very unique feature in that they taught physics and chemistry to girls. She excelled.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Science for
Why?
ladies.
She excelled in every subject, even
right.
learning a few languages like German, French, and Latin.
Whoa.
The only thing she was bad at, music. The teacher called her parents once to ask if she had hearing problems or tonsillitis.
What? Why?
That's
Because she was that bad at
it's
music.
a really fancy way of saying she can't fucking sing.
Oh, that's just fucking rude.
Yeah.
A little, yeah. But that's the Brits.
That's the Ritz.
The Brits.
Oh, the Brits. I thought you were saying that.
I
was
mean,
the
You
Pro-
can't just come
probably
right out
also
and
the
say
Ritz.
she sucks.
Yeah. You got to say it in a fancy way. Like,
Is she suffering
is she-
somehow?
is she possibly impaired?
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah.
The Sussex accent. Do you mind?
Because normal people don't suck this bad.
I mean, she's got to be sick. That's like the only thing that can
That's
count.
more disrespectful
Yeah.
to assume
You must be
you
ill.
must be sick.
All right, Sussex accent, just for anybody.
Play it into the microphone.
I am going to, if there's not an ad.
Well, there's always an ad.
Put a heap of straw in and shook it all up and watered it. And then drawed out these bundles and took it up on a fork.
So you were right.
That was pretty close.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking like the closest I can think of is a deep Louisiana accent,
Now,
like
ding,
from the
ding, ding, ding,
bayou.
ding.
From the bayou.
From
Accent.
Louisiana now, hold down on the bayou now.
But British.
Hillbilly Brits.
Yeah, right.
It's accent you can only get from water.
There it is,
Salt water.
yeah.
From out in the country.
The good salt
The
water.
good
In the
salt water.
swamps, the marshes.
Yeah. Okay. So that sets the scene.
It's the swampy people.
All right, so sorry, back to the
Back to the swamp.
Rosalind. I missed that. What?
I said back to the swamp.
Oh, back to the swamp.
No, she's actually back in London now. So she left the swamp and she came back to the city.
Damn.
Sorry, touched the mic.
But she was really smart and she
Wait, is
earned.
this where they got the inspiration for Shrek?
Is she Fiona? Is there a Farquaad? I want to see this man.
Serious question, but you know.
Was it? Was that a serious question?
I just wanted to know.
Oh, it's so sincere. So I'm going to say the answer is no.
I'm just goofing.
I did ask earlier, is this the impetus for Ellis Island? But no, we're way
No,
past
it's not.
that.
We're past
It's
that.
Shrek.
It's
Yeah,
way.
we
I
just found
should have
out.
known.
Yeah.
We're in Shrek.
My ancestors
Yeah.
came through Ellis Island before all this,
Yeah,
so I
for
should
sure
know.
they did.
So she really sucked at music, but she was super smart. She earned a scholarship to the school leaving exhibition of a whole £30 per year.
What?
£30
Money.
per year.
Pounds, not like, wait.
No, I know.
Okay.
And then she got an extra
Currency.
$5 from her grandfather. Just
For
as a
her
little-
birthday?
No, for her like graduation, the fact that
okay.
she'd done so well in school, she was
How-
going to the school.
How far does money go at
I don't
this
know,
time?
probably a long ways.
Let's find out.
Yeah, find out.
Since we're committed to using our phones this episode.
Thank you. Should I not be using my phone?
No,
in
no,
this
no.
episode?
We don't normally. I just.
Yeah, I'm trying to I like to set the context.
Well, so because the family was already well off, Ellis basically just told her like, "Hey, you don't need that, so why don't you just donate it to a refugee that like needs more,
Oh, okay.
deserves it more."
I-
Not deserves it more, like they
Yeah.
didn't earn it more, but
But, like, they
maybe
need it.
They need it more,
Yeah.
than you do,
Yeah,
because
which,
we
I mean,
can
yeah,
pay for
yeah,
that.
okay, yeah, I see.
So when she graduated in 1938, she was accepted and attended Newnham College, a girls' school at Cambridge.
Where we teach you how to make ham at noon,
So
so that you
No.
can learn all your womanly skills.
No, she studied chemistry. She was
Excellent.
completely fascinated with the very precise nature of science, math, and how all of these elements worked together.
Okay.
Yeah.
30 pounds in 1920 calculates to a little over $1,300 today.
So, and in a time when school was probably fairly reasonable to go to at that point.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's
Okay. For a wealthier family and
Yeah,
getting
that's-
I mean,
okay.
she's
okay.
not paying for shit, so this is fucking spending money.
Yeah, this is
yeah, but she gave it to another kid.
Sure, whatever.
perfect. Love.
Rosalind was completely taken with science for the exact nature of the field. When you have science experiments, the numbers and the measurements have to be incredibly exact, and the slightest
Finite.
Yeah.
super super exact. The slightest variance can fucking ruin an experiment, and exactitude is the only attitude.
That's fair. It's kind of why I like Legos. Everything goes in a place.
Yep.
I like chaos.
That's fine. It tells me a lot about you, though.
Yes. Is it chaos?
It's time for a telegram.
And you, you didn't even hear that.
I can hear it through your headphones.
Okay. Elsewhere in Europe.
Europe. Just
Europe.
general Europe.
Europe.
In 1938. I can't
You're-
wait to hear this.
Hitler is fully in charge of Germany. He has been for 5 years. And in
Goddamn
that
Austrians.
time, the Third Reich grew from this increasingly annoying right-wing party in control of this small European country to the international threat and murderous powerhouse that pissed everyone off around them to the point they had no choice but to go to war.
Yep, it's
Again.
wartime. You heard about the Great War. This is going to be now
About
The
to blow your
second-
hair-
terrible
about to blow
war.
your hair back.
Yes. You have hair? No, you don't. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No eyebrows either.
In 1938, Hitler has annexed Austria and Czechoslovak land. In October,
Wait, what did you just say?
I said it the wrong way. I'm sorry. Czechoslovak land.
Czechoslovak?
I heard. Yeah,
Czechoslovak land.
yeah,
Yes,
it's probably
thank you.
Czechoslovak, but also.
Czechoslovak.
I heard Czech so black, and I was like, wait, what?
Ow.
Oh, are you okay? For anybody listening, Lauren just hit her head because she was laughing.
She got a good
Threw her
bonk.
head back.
I got a bonk.
Oh, by the way, her hair looks amazing. Just for anybody listening. She got a haircut.
Can't see it.
I don't give a shit. Everybody should know.
Yeah. All right.
And her nails. They're gorgeous.
That I will take a compliment on. 'cause
Update
they
over.
Look great. So in
Yeah,
Hitler's fucking shit up. And in October, Germany just decided to invalidate the passports of its Jewish citizens.
Trapping them.
Jews with German passports were reissued books with a large red J stamped on it.
Great.
This was done as a request from Sweden and Switzerland as a quick way to identify and reject Jews attempting to enter their countries.
So whoever set up that law absolutely read the Scarlet Letter.
It's fully intentional what was happening.
Yep, absolutely. So much for Switzerland being the ultimate neutral party.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, we don't want them. By this point, quite a few Jewish families had fled Germany and the surrounding areas in an attempt to outrun the Third Reich. They knew what was coming well before those fucking stars even started coming out.
Oh, but those people left behind.
Ernst Eduard von Rath was a Nazi diplomat living in Paris.
Von Rath. How? What a coincidence.
In November 9th, a Polish Jew named Herschel Grinspan assassinated him.
That's a dope name, too.
This gave the SS, the SA, and the Hitler Youth, and pretty much any Nazi paramilitary shit the pretext they'd been waiting for.
Yeah, the pretense.
To strike.
Revenge.
Yes.
It's time for them, apparently.
That same night, something called Kristallnacht occurred. This is also known as Night of the Broken Glass.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout Germany, Austria, and the Sudetenland, racist pieces of garbage marched through the streets of Jewish neighborhoods and towns, armed with literal sledgehammers. They walked through the streets, smashing and destroying over 7,000 Jewish businesses.
Sheesh.
They destroyed 267 synagogues. At least 91 people died that night, and 30,000 Jewish men were carted off to concentration camps. The Times of London observed on 11 October 1938, no foreign propagandist bent upon blackening Germany before the world could outdo the tale of burnings and beatings, of blackguardly assaults on defenseless and innocent people, which disgraced that country yesterday. This was a huge turning point in the public opinion of the Third Reich, and in the days following this event, a huge delegation of British, Jewish, and Quaker leaders literally begged the Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain, to allow the emergency admission of unaccompanied Jewish children, all coming into the country without their parents.
Yes, please. Anything for the kids.
I swore I was going to be cool for this.
Oh, I know. It's okay.
I sobbed during this research, like, for a solid 40 minutes. This is terrible. Something about kids, dude.
Well, they're just so young that nothing going on is their fault, obviously.
They're the untouchables.
And yet they're the most vulnerable.
We're going to ignore my tears and we're going to move through it, okay?
You can cry.
The group, coming together under the name Movement for the Care of Children from Germany, presented their case on the 21st. Home Secretary Sir Samuel Hoare said...
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to get the giggles out. I'm sorry.
Hoare. Hoare, whatever.
Let's call him Hodor.
Sam Hoare.
Sam Hoare. Sir Sam Hoare said that he nor the Home Office, quote, shall put no obstacle in the way of children coming here, end
please.
Quote. But that the children would need to be sponsored and the agencies had to find homes and £50 for each child for their eventual re-emigration to their own country. It was a whirlwind of activism for innocence, and as soon representatives were in Germany and Austria working this out there. They didn't care if you were a Jewish family sponsoring, and they didn't ask too many questions. They just took children from a fucking terrible place and brought them somewhere they could be safe.
Yeah.
I'm going to have someone else read this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. You don't have to apologize. This is really tough. This is very apt for what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Directly from Wikipedia. In Germany, a network of organizers was established, and these volunteers worked around the clock to make priority lists of those most in peril. Teenagers who were in concentration camps or in danger of arrest, Polish children or teenagers threatened with deportation, children in Jewish orphanages, children whose parents were too impoverished to keep them, or children with a parent in a concentration camp. Once the children were identified or grouped by their list, their guardians or parents were issued a travel date and departure details. They could only take a small sealed suitcase with no valuables and only 10 marks or less in money. Some children had nothing but a manila tag with a number on the front and their name on the back. Others were issued with a numbered identity card with a photo. The first party of 196 children arrived at Harwich on the TSS Prague on 2nd December, 3 weeks after Kristallnacht, disembarking on Parkinson Quay. In the following 9 months, almost 10,000 unaccompanied children, mainly Jewish, traveled to England. All this to say, the Franklin family took in two children, as part of the kinder transport. I imagine the actual number might be higher, but there are at least 2 kids that they took in. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know what it fucking was about.
Well, I mean,
Crystal knocked, man. It's crazy.
well, it's heartbreaking. They're taking any financial means that so many families need to survive or to escape. I mean, they're trying to cripple the community all the way down.
Well, and the absolute awareness that they had that this is a terrible, terrible thing, and it's a terrible situation for children to be in, means that they had self-awareness that they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, yeah, people are dying and kids don't deserve this. Well, you know what? Nobody fucking does. And why are you continuing this? And you're just agreeing to, like, let Jewish kids go for the sake of saving their lives, but you still won't sit there and acknowledge that this thing that you're doing is absolutely fucking monstrous.
Right.
And maybe you should fucking stop doing that thing.
Yeah.
So the younger sister, Jennifer, she shared a room with one of the orphans of a concentration camp and all of this. So basically throughout 1938, Rosalind's off at school and they have these orphans that are coming in and living with them. She was consciously and culturally Jewish, but as far as belief went, the concept of God didn't seem to interest her too much.
I can understand at that time.
It's not the emotions away.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's not the pain away.
Sucking on my... Oh. Anyway, all right. So she was consciously and culturally Jewish, but as far as belief went, the concept of God didn't seem to interest her too much. In 1940, she wrote to Ellis, "Science and everyday life cannot and should not be separated. Science, for me, gives a partial explanation of life. I do not accept your definition of faith, i.e. belief in life after death. Your faith rests on the future of yourself and others as individuals, mine in the future and fate of our successors. It seems to me that yours is the more selfish. As to the question of a creator of what? I see no reason to believe that a creator of protoplasm or primeval matter, if such there be, has any reason to be interested in our insignificant race in a tiny corner of the universe."
Yeah. I think at some point, because anytime I've ever wondered about like how significant really are the desires of these apes that live on a planet in this vast universe. I mean,
Planet of the Apes.
that's pretty much what we are. And it's like, I don't know.
I just listened to a Dollop episode where they were talking, it was literally called The Egg War, and it was about these islands that are off the coast of San Francisco that are absolutely like uninhabitable by humans and have been for hundreds of years. But when there was a huge population boom in San Francisco because of the gold rush, the fact that every year this island was home to a lot of egg laying, they would come to this island and then they would mate and they would lay their eggs all summer. And so these people would go to this like incredibly terrible island and
go
like
get
climb up cliffs and stuff to go get this thing. And they it turned into a whole like capitalist hellscape war where people died. It was gull eggs and keef eggs or something like that.
Some sort of
but
like
these
somewhat rare
huge-
bird.
A seabird.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
seabird, and they were really big. And I guess like when you fried them up, the whites that we usually see in chicken eggs, like they would stay clear and they would stay like Jello.
Interesting.
And then the yolks were like really orangish red. But basically, like people figured out that there was a resource there, and then they immediately
becomes a
exploited it,
commodity. Yeah.
and then they immediately capitalized on it, and
Yeah.
it became a turf war.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's humanity.
it's the American spirit.
White colonizer humanity.
Literally, there were people that were like that showed up on the island, and they just decided one day they're going to call dibs, and so they stayed on the island, and then they were like, "We own this place.
It's out.
Really?
It's ours."
Leave now.
So, on graduating in 1941, she got what were called second-class honors.
Oh, fuck you.
It served as a diploma for job applications, but it didn't count as an actual degree. She had what would become later, like 6 years later, a bachelor's degree.
Oh.
But since she was a woman, obviously she didn't deserve it fully. Just
bachelorette's degree.
Just
it's a little smaller, it's not worth as much.
degree.
It doesn't
But-
need as much.
Yeah, but you can get a job with it, but it's not as good as a bachelor's degree.
Have you
I
guys
just
heard of
wanna
going
let
to
you know.
school for an MRS degree?
I have heard of that.
We used to
Yeah.
say-
I wasn't sure if it was a Mormon thing or not.
I knew.
No, I know someone who got engaged halfway through freshman's first semester and then just left second
Girl,
semester.
leases there were like 4 months long on purpose because they were betting that at some point you would be leaving and you'd have someone else to take your place.
Imagine that's part of
Somebody
like
to
the
take you
leasing
away.
pitch. It's like, look, it's only 4 months because, baby, most people get engaged in that time.
Because everyone, so in those areas, everyone was Mormon, and so literally, like the colony is the one little neighborhood I'm thinking of, but this was fairly common with pretty much any apartment complex where there was like 3 or 4 buildings that were girl buildings, and then across the street there were guy buildings, and so they were literally designed to like you're looking at each other across the street every day, and there's
how
like you kind of have like it's a whole big driveway, and so you got little barbecues going on,
that's
and there's
kinda
pool
cute.
parties. It's very fun and it's very social and it's very intended to socialize you, but you're also going to church with all of these people,
Yeah.
and so you're having like all of these activities that you're doing with people that you spend basically, if you're not doing church or work,
Ice cream
if you're not doing school or
socials,
work,
girl.
you are hanging out with these people.
The ice cream socials must be
Yes.
lit. They got a DJ and everything.
They would do like pasta socials and like make your own pizza socials
Oh,
and like
that's fun.
game night. Oh my God, the game nights. I will say, as a former Mormon, nobody knows how to game
I
like
can
Mormons.
understand.
They're fucking great.
I understand
The only thing that would be better than that is like that with a table full of weed. That would be wildly entertaining. I love a good game night.
That would be. I do think
Anyway.
game nights are fun.
She got this degree that wasn't an actual degree, but
It was bachelorette's degree. We've
Bachelorette's degree,
established
yes.
this.
So on graduating, she was awarded a research fellowship at Newnham. So she
Okay.
worked in Newnham at Cambridge.
Noonham.
Newnham. It's
Newnham.
probably Newnham.
Newnham.
That actually, thank you for saying that. It just clicked. That probably is right.
Sorry.
I said Newnham.
Sorry to all the UK
No,
listeners. I
first
think
of
there's
all-
like 12 of them.
First of all, it is Newnham, but
It is.
they're saying assuredly
Newnham.
Newnham. Yes.
Newnham.
It's spelled Newnham. Be sure of that.
Okay, you want to point to any American cities that do the same thing?
Worcester.
They're mostly. I
Yeah.
was just going to say they're mostly in New England. Those
Yep.
fucking unoriginal motherfuckers.
I mean, Colorado's got to have one.
New England? Are we kidding? We fucking left Old England just to name everything after Old England and call it.
Well,
New.
they-
It's
remember they
fucking
left
garbage.
Plymouth.
Even old New
They
York
left Plymouth
was once
and
New
arrived
Amsterdam.
in Plymouth.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is a Susie Eddie is our joke, and I love it because it's so true.
And it got
Eddie
stolen
is great.
for Kunk on Earth in Netflix,
Oh,
which
it
is
did.
fucking hilarious, by the way.
I do
We
love
love
Kunk on
Philomena.
Earth.
Oh yeah, Philomena Kunk is great.
funny.
I wasn't quite sure, so I actually had to look this up. But those
Not her real
researchers do not know
No,
that
they
she's
do
going to
not.
be doing.
It's a genuine interview.
It
Yeah,
is.
they think that they're being asked questions by like
About
somebody
history.
from the they think
Yes.
they're being sent by the BBC.
Yes.
That Philomena Kunk is just the actual interviewer, and that she just is flying off the
It's
cuff.
so funny.
And so all of those
And
reactions
her
are
accent.
genuine.
Her accent just makes it so much better.
I know, it's great.
And
There are
that's
sometimes
not her real name either, which
well,
is
and
even
there are
more
some
hilarious.
professors that like they pick it up. They're like, okay, I'm gonna just play along.
This
Like I
has
know
to be
that
a joke.
this has got it. You're pulling my leg or something, so I'm
Gotta
just gonna
be,
play
or else
along.
I'm crazy.
But
It
then
is-
there's
it is
others that
pretty
are like,
great. Yeah, to see their faces go, what?
no. the guy with the Venus de Milo. Where she's talking about like she's got a really long neck, and he goes, no,
Takes it so seriously.
Well, it's all symbolic. Like literally,
just
that
doing it.
painting is very
Yeah.
like it's revered internationally and historically because of like its beauty and its symbolism, all this shit. So her long neck is supposed to be something of like slender beauty, but basically she's making fun of it. And the guy's like, no, you
don't get it.
you don't get it. So he actually tries to like reason with her, and it's just so funny. On graduating, she was awarded a research fellowship at Newnham. She worked in the physical chemistry lab at the University of Cambridge. Cambridge. Yeah. And I say this all casual, like it wasn't one of the best schools in the world with some of the greatest minds working there at that time. It, like...
just casual.
Yeah.
She did her studies in Cambridge and
Middle of World War II, you're working with, like, a lot of shit.
some of the brightest individuals in the UK.
One of the individuals was Roland George Rayford Norrish.
Too many names.
Roland. Rolandia.
So Rosalind worked under this guy, and he was just as much of a pompous ass as his name would have you presume.
Uh-oh.
I would imagine, like, he made everyone kind of call him that. Like, Ronald George Rayford Norrish.
Or Mr. Norrish.
No, that's too short. He needs a long title.
Mr. George Norrish.
Mr. Ronald George Rayford Norrish.
Ronald or Roland?
Roland.
Okay,
Ronald.
Ronald? Oh, we're calling him Roland? His name is Ronald.
Roland was the brother.
Oh.
This is Ronald's.
Oh my God. How fucking annoying is that?
I'm
Roland
joking.
And Ronald.
No, he was joking.
Oh. Okay.
No, I got it wrong the first time. His name is Ronald. Ronald George Rayford
Right,
Norrish.
but Roland
Right, is that
was
canon?
Roland
Because
was
I'm
the
getting
brother. That's-
confused.
Oh, Roland was one of
Yes.
Rosalind's brother.
Right, which is probably why you said that.
Who's on first?
Probably, yes.
Who's on first?
Not me. I don't know. I don't want to.
What's on second? I don't know. Is on third.
Thank you for getting it.
Everybody knows that.
That's what I'm asking you.
Whoa.
Nice.
What?
That was good.
What was that?
I grew up with Abbott and Costello. I love that. skit. I love that bit.
That's from the skit.
I guess
He's
I haven't seen it in a
losing
while.
his shit, and
Yeah,
he's losing his patience, and he's like, that's what I'm trying to ask you. Who's on first? And he's like,
Oh, I thought you said that's why I'm going to skin you. And I was like, what?
no, I said, that's what I'm asking you.
Well,
Okay.
Maybe both.
Maybe I need to turn my headphones up.
Ronald George Rayford Norrish was a sensitive, overbearing micromanager with an ego. Quote,
Right.
obstinate and almost perverse in argument.
Sheesh.
At the time, he was deep into alcoholism and couldn't get his shit together long enough to give her an actual research assignment.
Great.
They did not get along.
Clearly.
She had always been a person that did not suffer fools, and she had very little patience for the nonsense that he came with. Needless to say, their year working together was not productive, and it wasn't positive. So basically, as soon as that fellowship was up, she went and worked with the British Coal Utilization Research Association as a way to fulfill national service requirements, as the world was fully embroiled in World War II at this point.
Okay. Working for her country.
You what?
She's like basically trying to help the country.
Yep. This was, of course, wasn't all that I...
Flim flam.
That's not all.
Flam, but that's not all. It wasn't all. It wasn't all to Rosalind's life.
No,
she
she
had
needed
other
more.
parts of her life. Yeah. So some of her colleagues were refugees from a war that was still raging on. It was 1942. Air raids had come to the UK. She moved in with her cousin Irene to a vacant house that had belonged to their uncle, and they both served as air raid wardens and would regularly walk the streets of Putney, checking on their neighbors and their safety.
Wow.
It was with the coal project that Rosalind was really able to get into flexing her mind. She was an experimental scientist, and she had very exacting standards. And through a lot of teamwork, she was able to figure out exactly how porous coal actually was. She used helium to determine the density of coal, how porous the material was in general, and how easily it was permeated. It also helped immensely in determining how it broke down under pressure. As the temperature increases, the larger the molecule discharge of the coal. It explains a lot about how coal is used as fuel, and with this research, the BCURA was able to develop gas masks for their soldiers that would actually protect the airways from the harmful molecules.
Excellent. Cut down on cancer.
Yeah. She worked on this topic for years, and based on this thesis, Rosalind earned a PhD in 1945. The physical chemistry of solid organic colloids with special reference to coal.
Coal.
When she earned the PhD, she had little to do with it in the real world. She didn't really have a lot of work going for her. So she wrote to a friend she had met in her time at Newnham. Her name was Adrienne Whale. And she said that she was looking for a company who needed, quote, a physical chemist who knows very little physical chemistry, but quite a lot about the holes in coal.
They need to know about the holes in coal.
I'm your girl.
Okay. All right.
I'm your goal.
I'm your goyle.
I'm your ghoul.
Ooh. Adrienne is literally known in history as a friend to both Rosalind Franklin and another scientist from France, Marie Curie.
Ooh, name drop.
Yeah, her Wikipedia page is literally like she knew these people.
Excellent.
She couldn't really promise anything though, so she was like, "I'll see what I can do." So
Like,
Rosalind waited.
Let me tinker on this.
I haven't spoken a lot about Rosalind's personal life, and it's really because she didn't have one. She loved to travel, and with that passion, she was able to explore a lot. Like, she went to France.
Right, she's
she went
unencumbered.
to the US. She went to Germany. She went to a bunch of Slovak countries.
Yeah, untethered maybe was a better.
Untethered,
Yeah,
yes.
untethered.
Bunch of Slovak countries.
She liked to spend time in beautiful places. She was a trekker. She
Yeah.
didn't like she liked to hike a lot.
She was a trucker.
Trekker. She was a
trucker.
a mountaineer or something like that. She liked to climb mountains.
Yeah, no, I know what a trekker is. I just heard trucker, and I was
You
like,
think if she was a
hold on.
trucker, she would
Large
like
Marge.
kids.
She had her CDL too. Sheesh.
Large Marge sent us. That's a great podcast too.
So she kind of had a crush on a mentor and a fellow scientist, and she had a brief affair with another colleague, but she seemed really uninterested in the idea of dating or marriage or any of that.
I mean,
A
hey,
career woman.
have affairs. Enjoy. As long as they're not married.
Yeah. Once a friend of hers tried to set her up on a date, and Rosalind really just didn't see the fucking point.
She's like, this is bullshit.
Yeah. In 1946, one of her trips almost killed her. Rosalind trekked the French Alps with a friend, Jean Kerslak, and slipped off of a slope.
No. Oh, I just did it again. No.
She barely survived the encounter, but it's written as somewhat of a footnote, and she definitely remained a trekker. Like, it didn't stop her at all. They rescued her. She was fine, and then she
I wanted to know the
kept
extent
doing...
of her injuries. How she almost died. Like, what part of it makes her almost die?
I think it was like
She, like buried or something.
maybe she was frozen or something. I don't know. I just finished.
I'm not questioning that she was almost died or whatever. I'm curious.
No,
I'm assuming she, like, maybe-
I'm curious about that too. But
Maybe it was like
I
a
don't
really
know.
long fall. Like it was
Yeah.
one of those things where she fell a long way, and it definitely
Said she was
was
in
like
the Alps.
Yeah, the French Alps.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
it's
it's
very
pretty
possible
steep.
that-
and very cold.
Yeah,
Well,
and she
also-
slipped off of a slope, which are pretty steep.
I was
so
going to say
you
she could have
just
got
go
buried
down.
in snow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
that too. And she keeps on trekking.
Yeah, people had to come down and get her, so I would imagine they had to dig her out of snow. Yeah,
I'd be done trekking for a while after I got buried in snow.
Yeah,
she's just like,
we're good.
next.
I'm okay.
No helicopter to come save you at this time. You know
No,
what I mean?
You just get the dog.
Right, the St. Bernard with the fucking cask of sherry around its neck.
Like, just I hope this helps you while you wait.
This will warm me up, lady.
I'll bark to the best
I
of
know
my
you can't
ability.
feel your toes
I'm gonna get you
anymore,
drunk
but
real quick.
let me decrease your circulation more.
Yeah, let me make it worse for you
Yeah.
while making it feel better.
I mean, yeah, kind of. That's what you're really doing is you're getting them to relax.
I guess that's true.
So she was British, but Rosalind had a lifelong love to the nation of France. As a girl, she had traveled there a number of times on vacations and stuff. Like, I think her grandfather lived there for a while, and they would take vacations there and shit. So she loved the language, she loved the food, she loved the people. She even wrote to her mother once that she could live there forever and be happy. Quote, she considered the French lifestyle at that time as vastly superior to that of the English.
A real Francophile.
Yep. And in contrast, Franklin described English people as, quote, having vacant, stupid faces and childlike
God.
complacency.
Whoa.
She sounds French already.
Yeah.
That's like pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ugly, they're childish.
Fuck them kids.
You're fucking throwing tantrums at pubs and punching each other.
I mean, they do. You're not wrong.
I mean, people get
She's
into
right.
fights in France.
Yeah, but not like that. The culture of the UK is bar fights.
Yeah.
It is still
It's, like,
fairly
angry.
warrior culture.
Yeah.
not even angry. It's just drunk.
Yeah, that too.
It's not even really that motivated.
And it's only entertaining for so long before it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the 6th fight this week, and I just want to have a nice, quiet evening where no one gets fucked up and gets in a fight.
I grew up
Yeah.
with that a long time ago.
So before we get much further into the science nerd shit, we're going to stop for a second and talk about the world of science and academia at this point.
All right, we need an intro for that.
Hit me.
The world of science.
So, in short, it was a sexist shit show.
Of course.
Wow.
Everyone wanted to have their name on a certain discovery of a new thing, and everyone wanted to develop the new thing, and
Sounds more like narcissism than sexism.
both. I mean, it's both.
No, I'm not discounting it. I'm just, what you just described.
No, that's great. But it's not as special as when you have to credit a bunch of people. So if it's a group project, it's like, I have to share some of the credit.
The glory's all mine.
They'll
Yeah.
be in the footnotes.
Right. Well, sharing has
My
never been
assistant will get a mention.
exactly.
And we'll
Sharing
just call
has
her
never
my
been a
assistant.
Right. strong
yeah, exactly.
So a bunch of scientists are trying to discover something that are essentially in a race against their colleagues all the time.
That creates a really great scientific method.
It really does, but it also doesn't happen in a vacuum. So they're constantly influenced by each other's research and
Right.
each other's influence.
Peer review.
And when you're in a world of academia, you're doing research, you're presenting papers, you're doing these lectures and shit. And this is a time when everyone's kind of connected. If you're in like
conferences.
chemistry in academia
went
at
to
this
one.
time, everyone around you, they're all of them
Yeah.
by name.
I went to the one in college. We went to a COPAL conference for animal research and animal behavior. And fun fact, on TikTok, all of those dogs with the buttons where they can talk essentially, and they have some cats that do it too. Okay. So I if I'm remembering this right, there's a good chance I'm not, but I'm remembering this right. I presented a poster. I didn't have a lecture, but our research got to do a poster because that particular study was new, and then one of our other people who was in the lab longer was doing a lecture. And so when I was doing my poster thing, I was talking about the pigeons I was working with and all the stuff. The person across the walkway from me, we started chatting because you go around and you kind of have somebody man your poster, and then you get to go walk around and kind of see. And I talked to this person who was working with animals and buttons and trying to kind of, I forget what it was, if it was specifically for them to speak or if it was for them to kind of tell you what they wanted. I think it was it was an early
Figuring out
research.
how to communicate.
Yeah.
Between species, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, as she was going around and she got to talk to everybody, I mean, she had actually asked a lot of questions. I remember she was blonde, her hair looked like yours, and she was really cool. So, yay you. If you have anything to do with the dog buttons, I hope you made a lot of money.
There's I think we talked about this before, the speech path lady who has the poodle who she's taught to.
No.
Anakin, I think the dog's name is Bunny. I could be wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's the one with the buttons.
Yes.
She's one. And okay, there's a conspiracy. Tell me all about her. That she's become
She's sentient.
Yeah, she's she is now having an existential crisis.
It's very funny. This is a very smart poodle who has been taught. It's 40 or 50.
I think it's not a golden doodle,
No,
but
she's a poodle of some kind.
Yeah.
But
very smart.
she's learned how to talk to her mom is a speech path. Mm-hmm. And has all these buttons. I feel like it's 40 or 50, but it could even be more of different words. So she knows mom and dad. She knows her
siblings,
and
their names.
Yeah, food and outside and all these things.
And her mom's friends, because she'll be like, "We're going over to somebody's house," and she gets all excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but Bunny thinks she's a human.
Yeah, I just saw this video
I have
the other
seen
day.
that video. Yes.
She
that's
knows
very
that her
cute.
sister is a dog.
But she doesn't
But
understand.
she's a human. She's
Yes,
people.
That's what she thinks.
She's people.
Yes.
Pippin thinks he's people.
Yeah. Probably.
That's why that's why he hangs out with us on the couch, because people hang out on the
I
couch.
think that's how Loki is too.
Yeah.
He's part of the gang.
I wonder if that's going to happen, because there's a cat that I follow on YouTube that does these videos named Billy. And it's very, very funny, the attitude. Or there's another person on TikTok who has one for their little mini husky or something like that. And they do it in a funny way where basically there's a video that was the mom was in the bathtub no, not in the bathtub. She was in the bathroom. She needed something. And she was like, oh, tell your dad to go get this. Lady with the dog. They go, basically, she'll come down and talk to her dad and go like, oh, help, bitch, 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 bitch. And she like hits the bitch button a few times. It's very funny.
Ridiculous.
I went under. Okay. Anyway, we spent enough on labs. So they went to a conference.
No.
Never mind. I got too sidetracked.
So a bunch of scientists are all trying to research things. They don't want to share credit.
The opposite.
That's all right. But now that I've said all of that, now that I've said all of those things, Rosalind worked with a bunch of awesome scientists, and her research was one element of a lot of larger projects, and everything that she worked on didn't happen in a vacuum because, as we all know, science moves forward through collaboration, not competition. It's probably like more heads are better than one. Anyway, so I don't have time to go into like all of the other scientists here, but we will focus on some of Rosalind's closer colleagues.
All right, her besties.
Right. In 1946, Adrienne introduced Rosalind to Marcel Mathieu. Mathieu? Mathiew. Mathieu.
Matthew.
Mathieu.
There it is. Marcel Mathieu.
Oh, sexier.
He was a director at a set of scientific labs supported by the French government. In 1947, she got a job and started working under a Lithuanian-born X-ray crystallographer, Jacques Mering.
Okay, wait. What's his job title again?
He was an X-ray crystallographer. Yes, and she was one of 15 researchers that would also become X-ray crystallographers.
Interesting.
Which
Do we
is
know
exactly?
what crystallography? Yeah, all right.
X-ray crystallography goes way the fuck over my head. So
Me
I've
too.
copy-pasted from Wikipedia here.
Thank you. That was a little loud. Thank you.
In its first decades of use, this method determined the size of atoms, the lengths and types of chemical bonds, and the atomic scale differences among various materials, especially minerals and alloys. The method also revealed the structure and function of many biological molecules, including vitamins, drugs, proteins, and nucleic acids, such as DNA. X-ray crystallography is still the primary method for characterizing the atomic structure of new materials and in discerning materials that appear similar by other experiments.
Okay, so it's a method of identification, or it can be used
It is
as
a
one.
method of treatment of molecules that allow them to be...
Super observed.
Yes. So it's a study of how things look when they are hydrated in certain ways. And there's different methods within X-ray crystallography to get images and shapes of different things. And so for a couple years, Rosalind continued the study of coal and carbon just with X-ray crystallography to kind of get those super observations.
Okay.
How the atoms change as they become graphite. She wrote a bunch of papers on the subject, and she gave a lot of speeches and all that shit. There are now textbooks that actually explain this far better than I ever will. And they credit Rosalind properly with the development
Beautiful.
of that science.
Thank you.
There was even a monograph written in 1993 about this same topic, so it's still very much a useful set of research.
Beautiful.
Telegram.
Elsewhere in science!
There's a telegram for you, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
X-ray crystallography was used for a bunch of things, but in the late 1940s, the hot new science baby was DNA.
What? They knew what it was?
Here's what's going on in DNA research at this time. Very, very briefly.
Oh, because it's very, very brief science at this time.
So up to around this point, people understood heredity a fair bit, but they didn't understand at a molecular level how that was programmed in people.
They were still using Punnett squares.
Then in DNA happened. In 1869, Friedrich...
It just happened. It's never happened before.
Spontaneously
It just happened.
occurred.
In 1869, Friedrich Meischer picked up some old pus-filled surgical bandages, and he started studying them.
Okay.
He noticed within the cells there existed something inside the nucleus, so he appropriately named it nuclein.
Okay. First step.
In 1909, Phoebus Levine had taken the next step to identify RNA, which was at the time called yeast nucleic acid. Okay. And 20 fucking years later, he figured out deoxyribose in the nucleic acid.
That's part 2.
In this time, they started naming some of the nucleic acids that made up this DNA form. Guanine, cytosine, thymine, and
adenosine.
Adenine. After people started positing that these hereditary traits we tend to wonder about might be kept inside this DNA thing. They're like, maybe that's it. But the code hadn't quite been cracked, and nor did anyone know exactly what it was.
We just know it's there.
We know it's there. We know it exists inside cells, but we don't really know what it does or how it works.
Yeah, what's its purpose?
What's it for?
And we don't know what it looks like either. In 1937, William Astbury produced the first X-ray diffraction patterns to show that DNA had structure. But we still didn't know what the structure was. We just saw repeating patterns.
Show me that double helix.
In 1943, a bunch of scientists took a jump in discovering that the guanine would always be equal to the cytosine, and the thymine would always be equal to the adenine.
That's where they connect, baby.
Right. So they were like, all right, there's a relationship now between the ratios of things. There's always going to be these levels. So by 1950, the race to identify the structure of this tiny little fucker was on, and in a big way. So when Rosalind earned a fellowship at King's College in London, it seemed inevitable that this would touch her life. Welcome to The Amazing Race, DNA edition.
Ooh. What are the rules? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, probably, Dag, but damn, I amaze and astonish. I don't know.
It's a Hamilton reference.
Our first team up is Francis Crick and James Watson. Crick had taught himself X-ray crystallography in 1949.
He taught it to himself.
And
How
Watson...
does one do that?
It's the 40s.
Oh, okay.
You just look at stuff and then learn it.
Everything's kind of fast and loose.
You start working with the right people, and they, like, kind of let you observe how you do shit. And then they do their own shit. And they're like, all right, I'm doing it now. I guess?
Yeah, something like that.
Like a side project.
Right. So he'd been using X-rays to... So Crick was the self-taught guy, and then Watson, he was using X-rays to inactivate bacterial viruses.
So shut them down?
I guess, like, shoot them with X-rays and then they kills them? I don't know.
Bye-bye.
So we will call this team Team Dr. Horrible, or the Evil Scientists.
What are we about to learn?
Our second team up, Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase.
Hershey.
Both American geneticists, Alfred and Martha were concerned with the actual purpose and code of DNA. They theorized this protein contained complicated genetic materials. We will call them Team Hershey Kisses because the two married each other before most of their famous work was done. They really don't play a whole lot of a part in this story. I just wanted to include them because it's so cute. Yeah, I know.
They fell in love. That's the story.
Our third team is a man unto himself, an island. Maurice Wilkins.
Jesus.
What's with
He's selfish, goddammit.
He worked with ram sperm and isolated DNA samples.
Sperm?
We will call him Team Spermy Boy.
Okay.
Or Spermy Wilkes.
Car ram sperm.
Because that's, I think I name him that later. This is Spermy Wilkes.
Sperm ram.
Next we have Rudolf Signer. Rudolf worked with DNA and in 1950 managed to extract pure DNA from a calf thymus. We will call him Team Santa because when he brought the DNA to London, he might as well been Papa Noel.
All right.
Our last team is the underdogs, Rosalind Franklin and Raymond Gosling. As we know, Rosalind was a chemist and Raymond was a physicist. We will call them Team Bunsen and Beaker.
Bunsen and Beaker. Who's Bunsen, though? I feel like that's important here.
Your Honor, objection for relevance.
Sustained.
Oh. The hair flip of authority.
Yeah, right.
I just saw that.
It is decided.
Flip. Next case.
I did the Bieber.
It was more like a L'Oreal commercial.
A bit.
I haven't gotten used to my new hair yet.
The new power that comes with it.
The lack of. I
No,
feel like
it's the
honestly, I
power.
kind of feel like Samson, where I just like they cut my hair. No.
Do you
all
need
my
some
powers
hair
are gone.
clips? I'll
Samson
cut
the
my
Lion?
hair. Buy some.
No, like Samson and Delilah.
Ah.
No, I chopped like a foot off of my hair, and I'm happy with it, but I'm also not used to it yet because, as everyone who ever does a chop
Yeah, it's like a lost
knows,
limb.
it's shocking.
Can I
Yeah,
tell you something?
yeah,
It's gonna grow back.
I know.
Okay.
That's what I told myself before I cut it off. I was like, it's fucking
Whatever
hair.
happens.
It'll grow back. Whatever.
Yeah, it'll come back. Baby, come back.
You can blame it all on me, but don't. I was wrong. I was right. I just can't live.
I was right.
All right, so this next part is very confusing, and I'm going to try and my hardest to get all of this right, but I might get a couple details wrong. So, the man responsible for bringing Rosalind to King's College for this set of research is a man named Sir John Randall. And by 1950, Randall was the director of the Biophysics Research Unit. He staffed the department and gave assignments to different scientists. Rosalind had originally joined King's College to study lipid and protein diffraction, but Randall decided to reassign her before she even started her first day of work. He was like, "Nah, you're going to work on something else." So she showed up in early 1951. He decided to put her on DNA fibers, and that's because in late 1950, Team Santa had managed to produce extraordinarily pure DNA from the thymus of calves, and he brought 15 grams of it to London to have it studied.
The thymus, you say?
15 grams of thymus or 15 grams of DNA?
Of quote-unquote
Pure
extraordinarily pure DNA.
Intriguing. I wonder what that looked like.
I imagine it with like a little rainbow glow because it's like magical to these people, and so they got to keep it in one of those little like
yeah, it's probably
pressurized cans.
It's probably one slide because think like an ounce.
15
is,
grams
is
though.
28
15 grams is a
grams.
lot.
I mean, yes and no. Like an ounce of wheat is 28 grams, right?
Yeah.
So like with that being said, like when you take all the wheat and you put it, like if you just like were to hold an ounce,
But
in your hand, it's
that's
not
at least
that
a
heavy.
couple vials of
Yeah, maybe right.
of DNA.
But it's not like a.
It's not a
fucking-
lot,
no,
but it's-
no.
Yeah.
That's all I meant to say. Is it's not a lot.
Right. So Team Spermy Boy got his hands on some of it, and he was able to get some quote-unquote good quality diffraction imaging of
Okay.
the structure. This only stoked more curiosity because the shape was forming, but it still wasn't clear. But because of the fact that his work was yielding so much information so quickly, Randall decided to take away Spermy Boy's assistant and reassigned him to be with Rosalind, thus creating Team Beaker and Bunsen.
Nice. Also, I'd be curious to know what the liquid ounce measurement of that 15 grams was.
Yeah, I have no idea.
The fluid ounce, I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's probably a fluid, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, gelatinous substance.
Yeah,
at
of some
best.
sort, right?
I would assume it
sort of-
Plasmic, yeah, something
Or
like that.
like it's encased, it's like in a solution that preserves it.
Something
So,
like
yes,
that.
Yeah,
it's
of,
probably-
right, sure.
Like basically, here's a basic form, and you can put it in whatever solution you need to do your little experiments.
Right.
In this short amount of time, Randall switched gears completely. He moved things over to Franklin, taking much of the research that Wilkins had been working on and moving it over to Rosalind and Raymond. So from Team Spermy Boy over to Bunsen and Beaker.
Got you. Bunsen and Beaker acquiring assets.
Yes. Rosalind was basically promised in December, before she even showed up, that she would be the only one working on DNA in the X-ray crystallography angle, along with, of course, her assistant, Gosling. This was not without drama, because
Uh-oh.
Randall didn't bother to tell Team Spermy Boy that he was losing his assistant, his research,
Rude.
and his DNA sample.
Yeah, see, this is something you got to communicate to the guy. Just a little note, maybe a memo.
Just a memo.
P.S.
Yeah, a PS even.
When he got back from vacation, his project was gone, and he had to hand it over to a girl.
Oh, for a man in the 40s, or is this the 50s?
In 1951.
51. Oh, that's like peak fuck you
Yeah.
at that time. At least according
In
to this
England.
guy.
In King's College in London, no less.
I don't know if that really means anything on top. I mean, America, it'd be the same thing.
In the academic world, it's like you'd probably be
Fuck you and your mother.
It makes it look like
that guy's probably pretty embarrassed.
very embarrassed.
And it wasn't
There's a
because
lot
of
of
anything
egos.
he did wrong. It was just because Randall was like,
He wasn't
hey,
there.
you're
This
going
is
to be working on
working.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, it wasn't even that it wasn't there. It was moving along just fine, but he was like, this is Rosalind's now.
Yeah.
So this was the very start of a very tumultuous relationship between the two
yeah.
during the next few years.
I can imagine him acting like a giant man baby in that
But do they
office.
fuck?
No.
No, it is not an enemies to lovers trope, I
No,
hope.
it is not.
Thank God.
In 1951 and 1952, all of this research is going on simultaneously. Again, extremely surface stuff because it's complicated. Team Beaker and Bunsen are building this on the skeleton of the research team that Team Sperm Boy has created. They're taking photos and they're studying what would eventually be known as the sample of A DNA.
Okay.
Team Hershey Kisses is gathering data in America, and they're conducting experiments that indeed prove that this mysterious DNA, though even though they didn't understand the structure of it, they knew that it was the capsule of information that made up who we are as people.
Building blocks of life.
Yes, it is the building blocks of life. Team Dr. Horrible is up in Cambridge studying the nucleic acid makeup.
Yes, the nucleic acid makeup.
And they eventually figure out that these elements fit together somehow. Like, they know that they're even, they should fit together somehow, but they're trying to figure out this helix as a general shape and experimenting with different structures. But they're not really getting anywhere. At one point, like, even they thought it was like one spine in the middle, and that the nucleic acids kind of like moved out from the cell in pairs,
Like a
and
tree.
were just sticking out. Yeah, like almost like the branches of a tree, but like a patterned tree. Yeah. They're working with the sample that would eventually be called B DNA. And here we have a latecomer to the DNA game, Linus Pauling. In 1951, he created a model of a potential structure, and it was flawed from the start.
Oh, he just threw it in there,
he
like,
threw
look
it
at
in
mine.
there, and he was like, "Here,
I
this
got
is my
one."
research," and it kind of got around, and so people are looking at it, and some of the other scientists are like, "Nah, he's wrong. Like
This doesn't make any
This
sense.
is wrong. Oh, it's back on." Like he kind of came in skidding to the home plate, but then it wasn't like he was still out. And it wasn't convincing, so they were like, "Oh no, he's wrong." So
He's up there like, no,
we still have a
it's
chance to
right.
make. Well, we still have a chance to make the discovery.
The prize is still mine.
Exactly.
My tree might still work.
So, Team Dr. Horrible, now sure that their triple helix model would never work, and seeing someone else's erroneous research prove the same thing, they went back to the model building table.
Let's get our Legos back out.
Yeah, literally. Yes. So A and B DNA basically have to do with how they're hydrated. Less hydrated, the shorter the strand, and the more hydrated, the longer. It like swells them up and it expands them versus it kind of shrinks them in. And I think both the samples had been preserved in different ways, and so Rosalind worked with the more hydrated one that was a little more stretched out, and the Team Dr. Horrible, they worked with the shorter, less hydrated one.
They're not going to be able to see it as well.
Right.
Hydration is everything.
In late 1951, Rosalind presented this research in a lecture, and it was based on this information and the fact that she said the DNA could be a double or triple helix, that Team Dr. Horrible got into their 1952 year research, which was basically trying to build the model with the triple helix. And then once they failed, they kind of moved on into like other studies.
Oh, they were just like, fuck it, we're done.
They literally kind of moved on. They were like, we're not going to get it, so we're
Yeah.
going to start studying other things. And then when
I want to succeed, not fail.
and when Pauling came in with his incorrect research, they were like, oh no, I think we should do this again.
Let's get back to something I'm good at.
So in May 1952, Raymond Gosling, so Bunsen and Beaker, produces an image that was called Photo 51. This is often attributed to Rosalind Franklin because it was part of her team, but Gosling was actually the one that took this photo. So it's
This X
a
shape.
very fuzzy X shape.
The middle of the helix.
The chromosome.
Yeah. No, not the chromosomes.
Oh,
but
it looks like a chromosome.
It does kind of look like a chromosome, yeah.
It's like where the helix like meets and crosses.
So in this, it's kind of hard to see, but basically you can see like 10 layers of a DNA spiral. And so you can see at multiple spots that it starts kind of moving around.
Yeah, it's
so
small, gets bigger, then gets small, then gets bigger.
no, it's even all around, but
Oh, okay.
there's spots around it where it's like, okay, this is a layer. I can see it coming all the way out. And this was a eureka moment because this proved that the structure had 2 helixes. It didn't solve the whole of the problem, but it gave a cross section that had never ever been seen before.
Right, so it's definitely not 3. So Dr. Horrible, good thing you moved on.
But this is the other thing, and I don't really talk about it much until the very end, but like none of them really know that this is a race that's happening. Like they're all just doing this research. I think Team Dr. Horrible, like they wanted to get their research in first, and they kind of knew that this thing down in King's College was happening because they had like academic buddies that were down here.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, like, they kind of say over and over, Rosalind never knew that she was in a competition. She never knew that she was in a race, in the Amazing
She was
Race
just
DNA
good
edition.
and was doing thorough research, not jumping the gun.
Yes, literally, yes. And we will see that over and over again here.
Go, girl.
So
Slow
this-
and steady.
So this image that Raymond had created was asymmetrical, and as a joke, in July 1952, Rosalind and Raymond created a funeral notice for the death of the helical DNA.
Whoa. They made an obituary for it?
Yes. Would you like to read it?
Yeah.
All right.
It is with great regret that we have to announce the death on Friday, 18th of July, 1952, of DNA helix crystalline. Death followed a protracted illness, which an intensive course of becylized injections had failed to relieve. A memorial service will be held next Monday or Tuesday. It is hoped that Dr. M.H.F. Wilkins will speak in memory of the late Helix. Signed, Rosalind Franklin and Raymond Gosling. Yes. It had an illness. A little thing of DNA died because of illness.
The mystery of DNA.
Yeah, the illness was stupidity. Now we know. We were wrong. It was this other thing.
So Rosalind was squarely against models. Quote, "We are not going to speculate. We are going to wait. We are going to let the spots on this photograph tell us what the structure is." Rosalind and Raymond, honing their machines to a fine point, were able to create what the other obscure X-ray crystallographer John Desmond Bernal called the, quote, "most beautiful X-ray photographs of any substance ever taken."
All right. Good praise. Good praise.
Meanwhile, Team Dr. Horrible was stuck as fuck. They had tried building model after model and were all flawed from the get. Their one source of progression was the fact that they were academics, and they went to these lectures from other people talking about DNA, namely Team Beaker and Bunsen and Team Spermy Wilkes.
Spermy Wilkes.
Spermy Willis.
I can't say I love it. I hate it.
That was the part of the funeral announcement. They were asking if Wilkins would please send regards.
Yeah. Acknowledge it.
Now, Team Sperm Boy was none too happy with the fact that much of his research had just been given to Rosalind and his assistant had been taken away on top of him. He didn't stop his own research, but now he had access to Team Beaker and Bunsen as well as his own because they were in the same lab. Mm-hmm. He did not get along with Rosalind, and Rosalind did not get along with Wilkins. They could have been really good colleagues because they were basically working on the same thing, but they were pitted against each other from the get, and so they stayed at loggerheads.
Yeah.
Rosalind was unhappy in this weirdly toxic environment, and though it was a step down, she decided to leave King's and move to Birkbeck College, which was like right next door. Right next door in London. She would join a different lab, but this research couldn't leave with her, and so research needed to be finished and soon. In the winter of 1952, and stories differ on the actual timeline of this, but it's usually late in this year. Team Dr. Horrible, they're fucking stumped. They are frustrated. They can't they have a lack of progress. They're just not getting anywhere, and all of their triple helixes and all that bullshit, like, that's not working out. So they decide to just pop on down to London to visit their old buddy Spermy Willis.
Yeah, old buddy.
Old buddy Spermy boy. And he was more than happy to share some of the research with them, and according to a couple of sources, Raymond Gosling was also there. One of them showed some research of Rosalind's to Team Dr. Horrible. They looked at photo 51 and read some of her notes and had a little light bulb moment go off in their heads.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So they finished their visit and they went on back to Cambridge. Rosalind, meanwhile, got to work and quickly resolved any of the issues that they had had in their research. Team Bunsen and Beaker wrote 3 papers, 2 of which they described the double helical structure of the DNA. They reached, like the papers themselves, reached acta crystallographica on March 6th, 1953. By March 17th, her journal entries showed that she had figured out the structure on her own without knowledge of the other team's efforts.
Excellent.
Though Raymond had taken the photo, a lot of Rosalind's research and honing of the machine that they actually used to take the image allowed that photo to happen. So the prevailing statement is that it's theirs together.
Yeah.
She also realized that the A-DNA and the B-DNA samples were different but structurally similar, and they were just the stretched out and compacted version of the same thing.
Okay.
On the 17th, she and Raymond wrote a 5-page manuscript titled, quote, A Note on Molecular Configuration of Sodium Thymonucleate. Meanwhile, Dr. Team Horrible is still working on finishing their experiments, and Sperm Boy Willie is finishing up his own research. Rosalind heard about Team Dr. Horrible's models and asked for permission to see it, but then remained skeptical of their model, asking, like, how would it actually work? Like, how would you actually put these things together?
Yeah, give us the 3D model.
Right. So suddenly it's April 25th, and it's 1953, and an issue of the scientific journal called Nature is published. Inside it were 7 papers. The first 5 were about Watson and Crick's model of the DNA structure and all the evidence supporting it. The 6th article was Franklin and Gosling's work on X-ray crystallography imaging of the A-DNA structure, positing largely the same data in a completely separate set of research from Watson and Crick. And the 7th was Sperm Boy Willie's paper on B-DNA.
Watson and Crick sounds like a bad English detective show.
Right? Yeah.
Or a bad law firm.
Yeah. A really trashy law firm.
Personal
Yeah.
injury.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you get run over by a forklift in the warehouse?
Call Watson and Crick at 555-1253.
I'm Watson, and that's my Crick.
Right. Gross.
The little cricket that's cricking outside speaking. That's your Crick.
Yeah, the grasshoppers.
I'm
moved
Watson,
out.
and that's my
Crickets moved
Crick.
in.
Yep.
Oh, no, the creek is a Crick.
Down by the crick. I think
Yep.
that's an
I'm Watson, and that's my Crick.
That's what I was
There
saying.
it is.
Yeah.
You sound so dirty.
Yeah, well, Cricks are dirty, but they're fun.
I don't
All
want
right.
to know about your crick.
So all of these papers
Keep your crick
came.
to yourself.
You what?
Keep your crick to yourself.
So all of this information came out at exactly the same time, like same day, same publishing. And once Rosalind saw Watson and Crick's research and applied it to her and Gosling's work, the math worked out perfectly. She was like, all right, this is great. They cracked it. She accepted that they'd found the structure, and then she moved on with her life.
They were able to validate each other's work.
Yeah, she saw it as like, okay, this is just a win for the DNA world. Great. And like
Right.
their theories, I have already been working on my own stuff. So now if I apply that math to my own shit, like, okay, yeah, it works out perfectly. I get it. She never knew that they saw photo 51, nor was she ever aware that they had seen part of her research.
That sounds like a problem.
She went to Birkbeck College. She continued her X-ray crystallography career, and because the head of the crystallography department was a badass feminist communist, John Desmond Bernal, or JD.
JD.
I'm just going to call him JD.
It's JD.
I don't think that was actually what he was called, but I'm calling him JD.
John Desmond JD.
Yep, JD Bernal. Rosalind had essentially been recruited because of her gender and of her brains. He asked her to forget about nucleic acids, but she continued her research with Gosling as they published more research in that July, of 1953. The lab at The lab at Birkbeck was a shit show, and she gave JD proper shit for the lack of talent of her colleagues. The myriad safety issues at play in the labs and the fact that her coworkers' carelessness led to the flooding of one of the buildings not long after she started was just more wood on the fire. She's like, I'm going to leave. And he's like, no, I really want to work with you. So he made her a senior scientist, and she was in charge of her own researchers.
All right, perfect. Things are going to get done right.
Well,
maybe. Okay.
So she got a few people from King's to follow her over, and even with that, she was still struggling to feel safe with her and her fellows for the purposes of research. Quote, my desk and lab are on the 4th floor, my x-ray tube in the basement, and I am responsible for the work of 4 people distributed over the basement, 1st and 2nd floors on 2 different staircases.
All right, so she has
In other words, I wear a shit ton of hats.
Yeah.
I'm also the building foreman.
Yeah.
Or the super.
And the plumber.
Yeah.
She moved on to other types of research, and in 1954, she worked with a thing called tobacco mosaic virus with a scientist also new to the lab named Aaron Klug. Klug.
Aaron Klug.
Together, they published papers on it and proved the world-leading virologists wrong on the topic of this specific virus. It was something about their structure that other virologists were like, no, that's bullshit. And they're like, nah.
Here's the evidence.
So this research grew, and JD was able to get her a few years of grant funding to build her team and to build all of that research.
Okay.
She did this, and for the next few years, they learned more about the virus and how it affected different plants. In 1956, Rosalind visited Berkeley, and she wrote a grant proposal for her team to research the polio virus. Unlike teams in the past, she wanted to work with a live polio virus at Birkbeck. She didn't like this idea, but eventually funding was secured, as was a lab that could keep the virus contained during the research. Because, polio.
Yeah. Don't want to get that out. You cannot let that get out.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
She's been internationally traveling this whole time. She's giving guest lectures at schools. She's trekking the mountains with friends that she's made over the years. And this is back when a real job could actually allow you the time to travel and go on holiday.
Yeah.
During one of the trips to the U.S., Rosalind found that her skirt couldn't zip up. One day it fit and one day it didn't. Her belly was starting to bulge a little.
Oh.
Yeah. A friend of hers asked if she was pregnant, and she answered, I wish. By September, she was in surgery. The doctors discovered 2 large tumors.
Oh.
They removed them, and Rosalind took some time to recover, but it didn't stop her research. Far from it, now she had the time to actually sit down and write.
Just like Marie Curie working on all that damn radiation.
Yep. She wrote 7 papers in 1956 with her research groups. It's literally the same kind of shit. All of the radiation from her X-ray crystallography career, which is, God, at this point, 10 years of working right by these weird machines.
Up close.
She's full of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Full arrays.
Full arrays. So she and her team published 6 more papers in 1957. She wrote 7 papers in 1956 and then 6 in 1957. All of these are after successful experimentation, a lot of them because they're founded on good research. And during this time, she continued to be hospitalized on a fairly regular basis and would spend that time with family members who were all very supportive of her. Her mother was understandably emotional about Rosalind being in pain, and at some point her weepiness got too much for Rosalind.
Oh. Get the fuck out. I can't deal.
Literally, she was she'd been living with her for just a short period of time, and she was like, I can't deal with this, so she moved out again.
Yeah. Go weep at home, Mom.
Exactly. She started to feel better, but in late 1957, she got sick again, more so this time, and it interrupted her ability to work with the live polio virus that she had just been given in an X-ray tube.
Maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't. She was admitted to the hospital.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So she was admitted to the hospital, she wrote her will, and she got her affairs in order. Her siblings and her friends would be her beneficiaries, as well as a number of charities. She wasn't finished with her research, though. The Brussels World Fair was coming up, and they had asked her to build and present a molecular model of the TMV she had written so much about.
Does anybody in academia know what she's been going through?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Maybe
think-
some of her colleagues, but like closely.
Yeah, but she was also still like, this work has to be done, and
Yeah.
my brain wants to do it.
Yeah,
so.
she doesn't seem like the kind of person that would want the attention or like the diversion of that.
Yeah, definitely not. So she, not being a fan of the models, she actually had already cracked the makeup of this, so she was happy to do this for the Brussels World Fair. So she made it up of ping pong balls and the bike handlebar grips. That was the bulk of the material that was used to build the model. And she sent it off to Brussels to be presented on opening day, April 17th. On April 16th, 1958, Rosalind Franklin succumbed to bronchopneumonia, secondary carcinomatosis, and ovarian cancer.
Oh, girl, I'm so sorry.
She got that done just in time.
Yeah. Though the Franklin family are Ashkenazi Jews and they are known for their gynecological cancer issues, it's fairly common understanding that Rosalind, like Marie Curie, died because of the extended exposure she endured to the unprotected X-ray radiation for over a decade of her life.
Yep,
Yes.
you can't look away from that.
I
Yeah.
know some shit.
You know some shit?
What did I say? I was like,
Yep.
just like Marie Curie.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Also, my dad's one of those people. Like he has been painting his whole life, and like he definitely wears a respirator now sometimes. But the amount of like paint fumes and other bullshit that he's inhaled over the years, and now that he's like picked up smoking again in the last 10 years, like he's fully going to die from lung cancer.
Oh, for sure. So, following her death, research continued and papers were written. Nobel Prizes were won, both in the areas of polio and in the areas of DNA. Rosalind's work was essential, but essentially forgotten after her death. Nobel Prizes are only awarded to live people. In the decades after her death, a ton of criticism came out about Rosalind's research being stolen by Team Dr. Horrible. They were the ones to win the Nobel, and they barely mentioned her contribution and even admit that Rosalind didn't know of her contributions to their knowledge.
Fuck you.
They painted Watson and Crick as the villains, which to a certain extent they can still be seen as, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Because they saw that photo and they were like, oh, I get it now.
Okay, yeah.
Her like, this woman figured this out.
Yeah,
Well,
I
but here's
know.
We're just gonna take this bit of information.
Just because she's already dead, so
And
she can't be here.
pretend-
No, she was there. She was alive and well.
She just wasn't in the lab.
She just wasn't in the office when they were looking at the photo.
Oh, okay.
So they were like, we're just not going to say anything about it. We're going to pretend like we also figured this out.
No, but I meant the Nobel Prize can only be given to living people.
Right.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So she died shortly after that all happened. And then they were like,
Yeah.
hey, let us present all this information. now
Exactly.
that
They
she's dead.
completely fucking took credit, and this is bullshit, and I'm mad.
So to their credit, I think like one or two of their publications kind of put her in a footnote of like she contributed to this research, and then in an interview
in
or
a footnote. What did I say earlier?
And I think in an interview they also said like, yeah, she did contribute, but she didn't know that she didn't know what her contribution was. But here's the crux of the issue. So science is about the first people to put something together. And for all the bluster, Team Dr. Horrible, they did actually get to the design first, and that's what counts. And her research couldn't have gone anywhere fully if there weren't other types of scientists to use her data to put it into solutions for other problems. The science world is selfish as fuck, but
No, I
it doesn't
know, it's
happen in a vacuum.
ego-driven and-
they did get her information so that they could actually do this thing, but it would have happened at some point anyway. Like they would have figured it out.
Right, but I'm just saying, give her the proper credit, motherfuckers.
Right.
She's dead. It's like, there's less motivation,
Yeah, still.
I believe if Rosalind had known, she would have just been proud of her work and the fact that her work and her research got everyone to
Oh, for
that
sure.
inevitable conclusion for sure.
For the community.
Yeah.
Because she's a real scientist.
Yep. And that's Rosalind.
Wow.
Rosalind! Oh, I thought I heard a cat. It was a chicken.
Nope, that's the Hype Squad.
The Hype Squad!
An egg song.
Egg
An egg
song! An
song.
egg song!
We love an egg song.
Yes!
All right, this was a long one, I think.
It was a good one, though.
Anyway, that's the show.
That's it. It's
Yay!
been a fucking podcast.
It's been a fucking podcast.
Peace.
We're out.
Cool. Bye bye.
Bye.